Well, it's been a month since I last recorded anything. It has been a really hard month. This is a picture I took back in 2009 in March. This was a rash that I got, a bullseye rash that was just mysterious and came out of nowhere. I don't believe that I was bitten by a tick, although during this time period I was having lots of miscarriages and I'm A negative. And so they were giving me ROGAM shots after the loss of each child. And I do think that it's related in some way to that. But anyway, once that happened, I began to have some very serious health issues and began to suffer from Lyme's disease. And since that time, I've had times when my health just really takes a turn for the worse, which is what I've been experiencing this past month. Um, the most difficult thing has been happening starting this week, starting on Sunday. I'm having, you know how you can get Charlie horses? Well, I've been getting Charlie horses in my thighs, which is incredibly painful. Um, so, anyway, I'm just telling you that because I just want you to understand that, first of all, I don't think I'm the only one who is going through some pretty tough stuff right now. And we have to remember that the scriptures are constantly telling us that, constantly comparing Ephraim to a woman in labor, even in pain. Here we are in Jeremiah chapter 4. For I have heard a voice as of a woman in labor, the anguish as of her who brings forth her first child. The voice of the daughter of Zion. See, it tells us who it is. The daughter of Zion, in my reading, I understand this to be Ephraim. Bewailing herself, she spreads her hands, saying, Woe is me now, for my soul is weary because of murderers. Another translation says that she is fainting before the murderers. Isaiah 40, starting in verse 28. Have you not known, have you not heard, that the everlasting God, Yahweh, the creator of the ends of the earth, faints not, neither is weary. There is no searching of his understanding. He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increases strength. So now let's look at verse 30. This is the condition of this people right before they're delivered. Even the youths shall faint. Some translations say even the young men shall faint and be weary. And the young, no, that's where young men come in. Excuse me. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon Yahweh shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. This renewal of our strength is coming. It will occur when the child has been born. The child is the kingdom of God, and the woman that is in labor is the one that gives birth to that child. Micah 4, And thou, O daughter of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, unto thee shall it come, even the first dominion. The kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem. Now, why do you cry out aloud? Is there no king in thee? Is thy counselor perished? For pangs have taken thee as a woman in travail. This is how it's constantly described. Be in pain, he says. This doesn't sound like we're not going to have some difficulties. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. What are we bringing forth but the kingdom of our God? For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. there shalt thou be delivered. There Yahweh shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. So where is this daughter of Zion that is in labor, that is going to bring forth the kingdom of our God located? In Babylon. And thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. There Yahweh shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. Now also many nations are gathered against thee. They say, let her be defiled, and let our eye look upon Zion. But they know not the thoughts of Yahweh, neither understand they his counsel. For he shall gather them as sheaves into the floor. They're going to be threshed. These that come against Zion are going to be threshed. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make your horn iron, and I will make your hooves brass, and you shall beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto Yahweh, and their substance unto Yahweh of the whole earth. Now, this is so important that we understand. Their horns are going to be made iron and their hooves brass. This tells us exactly who the daughter of Zion is. It is being symbolized by an animal with horns and hoofs. And I will show you in the scriptures that this is Ephraim. This is Ephraim. And he's being symbolized as a bull. So this is the blessing that Moses gave to the tribes of Israel that would represent what was going to be happening with them in the latter days, just before Moses departed from them. And so if we start here in verse 13, and of Joseph he said, blessed of Yahweh be his land and the precious things of heaven. And then we're just going to go down to the end. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them, with these horns, he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. Notice, he is the firstling. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock. Okay, here he is being compared to a bull. Now this is Jeremiah 31. This is a chapter in Jeremiah that describes the redemption of Zion, the coming forth of the new covenant. And it's right here in verse 18, it says, I have surely heard Ephraim bemoaning himself thus, in this way. These are the ways that he's bemoaning himself. You have chastised me, and I was chastised. Okay, so there is a chastisement that is coming. These are the birthing pains. It's to get the dross off of the people. And how is he described? As a bullock, unaccustomed to the yoke. Turn thou me, and I shall be turned, for thou art Yahweh, my Elohim. This is where we are right now. We are bemoaning ourselves because of the chastisements that we are incurring, because we're not accustomed to the yoke, but we are becoming an obedient bull. Surely after that I was turned, I repented, and after that I was instructed. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowels are troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, says Yahweh. They shall come with weeping, I'm in verse 9, and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. So I do not think that it's a coincidence that we are seeing so many amazing signs and wonders in the heavens, specifically in Taurus the bull, because I believe that that is representing Ephraim and Manasseh, who are going to be born first. And we have on May 23rd the conjunction of Venus, which I think represents the woman, and Jupiter, which is the kingdom of God, or the king, who is Yahushua Mashiach. And that's on May 23rd. But one of the things that I want to say is that that's not the end of the story. Because notice that that Venus and the Sun are going to come into conjunction somewhere. I don't have it pulled in tight, so somewhere between June 4th and June 6th, in the horns of the bull. And what did we just read in Deuteronomy? That the horns of the bull are the 10,000s of Ephraim and the thousands of Manasseh. And with those horns, they're going to push the nations to the ends of the earth. So that means that the battle is going to be raging on at that point. But that is the point where it says in Micah that he will make our horns iron and our hooves brass. That is when we will regain strength, and the tide will begin to turn against the enemy who has been decimating us up to this point. And then, of course, the story doesn't end until we get all the way to the fall feasts, because those have to be fulfilled. And the fall feasts is when we get to the point where, like it says, right here in verse 6 of Jeremiah 31, for there shall be a day that the watchmen upon the Mount Ephraim shall cry, arise ye, and let us go up to Zion unto Yahweh our Elohim. This is also what's being talked about in the book of Psalms. Psalms 81, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute. I did a video on this. This is the prophetic past tense. In other words, this is so sure to happen that it's being spoken of in the past tense as if it had already happened. But this is what is about to happen. For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony. Ephraim and Manasseh make up Joseph. When he went out through the land of Egypt. Okay, Isaiah 19 tells us that the 5 cities of righteousness, that the new covenant is going to be established in a land that in a code language is being called Egypt. It's being called Egypt because it is where Babylon is. We just read that that is where the daughter of Zion is going to be, even in Babylon. So it will be in bondage, just like they were in bondage in Egypt. And in Isaiah, it actually tells us, I believe it's Isaiah chapter 10, about the Assyrian that is going to come into the land of latter-day Egypt and is going to lift up the rod after the manner of Egypt. But he tells us not to fear, because even though he will smite us on the cheek with the rod, it'll only be for a moment, and then we'll be delivered. So this he ordained in Joseph for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. I removed his shoulder from the burden. His hands were delivered from the pots. That's exactly what it says in Isaiah 10. But I will take his burden, his yoke from off your shoulders. Okay, so this is that time, and that burden is about to be taken off. Thou callest in trouble. Okay, this is Jeremiah chapter 30, where it talks about the fact that he calls it the time of Jacob's trouble, because that is what Ephraim and Manasseh are called at the beginning, the house of Jacob. And if you go into Isaiah, I think it's chapter 42, where it describes who the house of Jacob is. It's those who come out of the waters of Judah, or out of the waters of baptism. Those are the Christians. And I delivered thee. I answered thee in the secret place of thunder. I proved thee at the waters of Meribah. And anyway, it goes on. Notice that in July, on July 6th, we have the sun, Venus, and the moon. Notice it is 0.3% illuminated. In other words, this is the dark moon. Remember that his people are going to be hidden. Okay, look at Psalm 91. This movement that is going to happen, this renewal, this gaining of strength, is going to be of a people that are being hidden under his wings, in his hand. And I think that's why what's pointing to this story is the dark moon. Is a symbol of that. And look where the dark moon is. It is on the shoulder of the twin that you can't see it very well, but that is holding a sickle in his hand. These twins are Joseph and Judah. Notice Judah has a harp, okay, just like David did. Joseph, and we know that these two tribes are going to come back together. And that's what this is symbolizing, is the reuniting of the entire house of Israel, the southern and northern kingdoms coming back together. But right now the story is on Joseph because he is the firstborn. And notice Venus is on his other shoulder, representing him as the bride of Christ, and the sun is on his thigh. And what did we just read? He slapped himself on his thigh and said something like, I have been a wayward child. He's feeling bad about the fact that he was a backsliding child for so many generations. Now, let's follow Venus around because I want to show you. Notice what's here. First of all, Mercury is here at this time. I'm going to see if I can go in my mouse. I can't. Okay, maybe a little bit. Okay. This right here is the beehive cluster. I did a video on the fact that I do not believe this is a crab, but it is a bee. And we have lost that knowledge. If we put on the lines, look at this. 2 wings, just like a bee. I don't believe this is a crab. I think that is a distortion that happened to our understanding. But notice where Mercury is. Mercury is the messenger. And where is the messenger heading? To the beehive cluster, right here on June 6th. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and give focus to Mercury so we don't lose that part of the story. I'm going to move this up here so it's not covering what we're looking at. And watch, boom, Mercury is in the beehive cluster. And then, okay, so that's July 7th. Now watch what happens. Boom, July 18th, 17th, 18th. The woman comes into conjunction with the beehive cluster, okay? I did multiple videos about honey. If you want to know more, go and look at it. Basically, this is the representation of receiving wisdom, okay? Honey represents wisdom, and it tells us, you can go look it up in Jeremiah chapter 3. It says that he will prepare wise men who actually, I'm just going to read it because I'm going to mess it up. Okay, so Jeremiah chapter 3, I'll start in verse 12. Go and proclaim these words towards the north and say, return, thou backsliding Israel, the northern kingdom, Ephraim, says Yahweh, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, says Yahweh, and I will not keep anger forever, right? Only acknowledge your iniquity. that you have transgressed against Yahweh, your Elohim, and have scattered your ways to the strangers under every green tree, and you have not obeyed my voice, says Yahweh. That is the condition we're in. Turn, O backsliding children, says Yahweh, for I am married to you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. So these are the 144,000. This is the firstborn child. This is Ephraim. And that's where they're being brought to Zion. And why? Why? And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding is honey. That is how it's defined in the book of Proverbs. And it shall come to pass when ye be multiplied and increased in the land in those days, says Yahweh. They will say no more the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done any more. Okay, where was the ark of the covenant? The ark of the covenant was behind the veil, right? And only the high priest could enter there on the one day. But Yahushua Mashiach rent that veil. At the time of his death and resurrection, he rent the veil. And so we're not going to talk about that anymore. At that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of Yahweh, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it. Because people are still talking about trying to find the Ark of the Covenant. Where has it been secreted away? And the great power that it had. No. The power is now in our high priest, Yahushua Mashiach, and the veil has been removed. Everyone, it says in Jeremiah 31, will know Yahweh from the least to the greatest. The veil will be off of our eyes. We will all know. Anyway, but the one thing that I wanted to make a point about, which was he will feed you with knowledge and understanding. In other words, it also says in the scriptures that all of those who are left will be fed milk and honey. Oops, I just pulled up the wrong thing. Sorry, guys. Will be fed milk and honey. Going back over here to where I was. No, I wanted to go back just to Larium. Sorry. So, there we are, and there she is being fed honey in the beehive cluster. So this is a process. This is what I want you guys to understand, is this is a process. And so if we keep moving around, keep working our way around, then we're going to come along to August. Now remember, August 21st was when we saw that first great eclipse over America. And on August 21st, we have the sun pointing to Leo, specifically to Regulus, which is the king. We have Venus approaching the Virgin. Let's see what's going to happen. Notice the moon. So remember I told you that the dark moon seems to be telling the story of what is happening. And where is the dark moon when it becomes darkened? It's right here in Leo. And then as it begins to illuminate, where is it? It's here in the woman. And where is Venus at this point on September 5th, as we're approaching, the fall feast, because that is the culmination of all of this. This journey has to continue into the fall feast. It was the spring feasts that were fulfilled, right? The fall feast is the tabernacling. And we have to get to that point when we are tabernacling. We are in the rest of our of Yahweh, of our rock, right? We are in his rest. So, bringing us into his rest has always been the desire of our Father in heaven for his people. Here in Isaiah 28, he talks about this. So he's addressing who? The drunkards of Ephraim. This is who he's talking to in Isaiah 28. And if you come down here to verse 21, it says, for Yahweh shall, oh no, not 21, excuse me, I went too far. 12. Oh my goodness, I switched it from 12 to 21, forgive me. To whom he said, okay, well, we'll start on 11. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear. Okay, this is always his desire, is to bring us into his rest. So anyway, let's go ahead and follow this around just a little bit further. Okay. And here we are, September 11th, September 12th, 13th, 14th. All right, and there was one day in particular that I wanted to show you. So this is September 18th. Notice that we have a full moon, and the Feast of Tabernacles begins on a full moon. And what is going on? Let's go back to Venus over here. We have the sun pointing to Venus, to the woman. And we have Venus representing as if there had been a rebirth just coming out of the womb of the woman. Mercury is giving an announcement in Leo. And where also is Venus? Right here in the harvest. I don't know if this is the fall feast, if this year is the fall feast that we are looking for, but I do find that fascinating. So on September 18th, this is the condition that we find. Going back, I'm going the wrong direction. Going back to July 18th, here we are. And is July 18th Pentecost? Because maybe we're counting from the second Passover. I don't know. But very interesting things to think about. And then if we go back to May 18th, we have the sun over Jupiter, and then we also have the woman, Venus, in conjunction with Uranus, which represents the heavens. I don't know if these are coincidences. And the only reason why I'm sharing all of this with you is to give you the courage to keep going. Now is not the time to lose heart. Now is the time that we are just about to be delivered. Now is the time to realize that at the end of the tale is the birth. At the end of the pains, I'm sorry, I'm saying this wrong. We are compared to a woman in labor. If you've ever been in labor, it is stage 3 of the labor that is so intense that you feel like you're going to die, that you're never going to give birth to this child. But he has promised us that he will not bring on labor. This is Isaiah 66. and not bring on the birth. Be in pain, Micah 4, labor to bring forth Zion. Don't give up now, brothers and sisters. We're at the end. We can do this. Keep our confidence in the rock and our sure foundation. Amen.